Welcome to this new episode of Casted to King. My name is Joshua Mickle, and we are soon going to have two very special guests. But before we do, I want to give a quick shameless plug. Not much of a shameless plug, more so of a big recommendation. If you live in Memphis, Tennessee, there is no AMC, there's no Regal, and there's no Cinemark around here. Zero movie subscriptions. Just recently, MoviePass just relaunched their app back a few months ago, and it is now available for anyone to get with tiers for $10, $20, or $30 a month. I personally got the $10 a month for 34 credits, and it was able to lapse over into next month, and it only lapses over once a month for you. And then so I had 68 credits, and just this week alone, I was able to see the following movies with MoviePass. I was able to see Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible, and Sound of Freedom in back-to-back-to-back days. And it only cost me $10 a month when the tickets were over $10 for just one ticket for one movie. So if you ever have a moment, if you're here in the Memphis area and you're a big movie fan, go ahead to MoviePass.com right now. They're not a sponsor of the show, but the service has been very great for me as a movie fan to be able to watch these movies and not have to worry about my wallet going forward. That I only have to worry about $10 a month. They send you a debit card. They send you a debit card, and you have to download the movie app, and then you just checking out your local movie theater. I'm at this time for X amount of credits that you have, and then it'll load that amount of money on your debit card MoviePass ticket that you will swipe at your kiosk, and then you just take your ticket, and you can go see a movie for free, or you can use that money that you were going to usually buy for a ticket for popcorn, for concessions, candy, wherever you want. So, hey, you got extra money to roll with if you want to. It sure beats like, hey, the typical popcorn soda combo is about $11 plus $10 for a ticket. You're spending about $21, $22 right there. You just only spend $10 a month for MoviePass, then you're only spending about $10 on your everyday movie trip. So go ahead and check out MoviePass right now. They are not a sponsor of the show, but I am so happy to be one of their gracious customers. And one of the things I wanted to quickly get off the top, and since these are very, very late entries because these have been out for over a month, we're going to start off with a quick review with Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's latest movie that just recently came out in theaters, and it is one of the jaw-dropping sort of movies that you can ever see in a movie theater. The cinematography, the editing, the gravitas of it, the cast, the directing, everything. It's all top notch, and I would say this is probably arguably Christopher Nolan's best ever, and that's not saying lightly from films like Inception and The Dark Knight, or even Batman Begins for some people. This may be easily Christopher Nolan's best movie he's ever directed, and I was just saying to our two future guests is that this is a movie that it is so riveting, like it sticks with you for such a long time that the impact, it leaves that mark on you that you cannot see this. Like for me personally, I cannot see this movie again unless if my dad's in town, you say, "Hey, you want to watch Oppenheimer together? Just us two guys." My mom and my wife are out doing groceries or something, or errands, or ladies' day. Yeah, us guys, we can probably pop that on. But very, very good movie. Can't recommend it anymore. I would if you have not seen it, I would highly recommend you go out and see it. Next film on the docket that was seen by me this past week, Mission Impossible 7: Dead Reckoning Part 1. This movie it's coming off the heels of Fallout, and it just seems like every single time we have a Tom Cruise movie, the question is always, what new stunt is this man going to pull off now? What new stunt is this man going to do? And there are some movies where you feel like, okay, maybe it's not like a part one of a movie, like it can stand on its own. Some can argue Infinity War for Avengers stands alone as its movie, but in actuality, it is part of a 1-part, 2-part movie, but you can actually watch Infinity War as its own standalone movie. Recently, with Across the Spider-Verse for Spider-Man, Some can argue it stands alone as its own movie. I strongly disagree, and that is a part 1 of part 2 that we are still waiting for that movie. Dead Reckoning is a true part 1 of part 2. It leaves you wanting more. It ends in a way where nothing is resolved, as should a proper part 1 movie be, like, say, Deathly Hallows Part 1 for Harry Potter, for example. It leaves you wanting more, and there's still more to the story yet to come. The cast and crew in this movie is spectacular. Tom Cruise coming off of Top Gun Maverick. I saw that movie in Dolby Cinema at AMC. He is the movie star in Hollywood right now. He is the top number 1 movie star in Hollywood right now. And so that's my quick thoughts on Mission Impossible. And last but not least, we have The Sound of Freedom. And quick history lesson for you right here, if you are not caught up with the history of this movie. This movie was finished, filmed, edited, ready to go for distribution by no later than 2018. This film has been sitting on the shelf for well over 5 years. Why, you may ask? Well, originally they had a deal with 20th Century Fox for distribution. And then what happens in December 2017? The Walt Disney Studio Company buys out all of 21st Century Media, including the distribution rights that was lapsed in with 20th Century Fox with Sound of Freedom, sat on the shelf for 5 years. Disney had zero plans of releasing this movie. And this small-time Christian studio called Angel Studios, who I have only heard of in the recent months and years about them doing an animated David movie with some of the power heads behind the scenes that have been some of the staunchest behind some of the best Disney anime movies, including some other anime movies like The Prince of Egypt from over 20 years ago, were behind this movie in terms of animation and storytelling. And so they were able, Disney allowed the Angel Studios, they were graciously, they could have said no. They could have just let it sit on the shelf forever. To Disney's credit, they allowed Angel Studios to buy the distribution rights, and they were able to crowdfund the distribution for $15 million. And this movie has made almost $200 million domestically. It has made more than Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 domestically. And the film is set, it was confirmed about a few days ago, that this film is getting set for its international release in late August. So this film has well made its money back, and it's about to make even more money for the studio. The only thing that sucks about all this is that Disney, who is in financial turmoil, missed out on a potential moneymaker off of $15 million, and they missed out on making some money. Now the movie itself, Jim Caviezel, he like Deja Vu, some other movies he's been in, Passion of the Christ, obviously. Jim Caviezel turns in a Class A performance. I don't want to say ever. I want to say Deja Vu is personally. I recently watched that the other day after my dad mentioned something about him being in Deja Vu. I want to say his best performance was Deja Vu, but this is right up there. And for those, and so I can just get this out of the way. Any report that you may see online that this is a right-wing movie, it's a QAnon movie, essentially like a right-wing conspiracy movie, it's not. It really is not. The movie pulls no strings politically, leaning one way or the other. It's a straight and narrow movie. It knows its target. It hits its target. And this movie was made off of the heels of a CBS documentary they did with Tim Ballard back in 2014, well before QAnon or any right-wing group was ever a thing. Well before that. The writing was done way back in 2015 for this movie. So well before any of these conspiracy theorists with QAnon or whatever right-wing groups there are, this movie was made well before those groups were even a thing. The story the story with Tim Ballard, if you've read up on this CBS documentary, they actually include a scene from the documentary, like behind the scenes stuff that they got with CBS. They actually filmed that in this movie of their own version for the theatrical version. And when you understand that, and then understand what the gravitas of what the operation that Tim Ballard was operating in down in Central America and elsewhere with child sex trafficking, this movie tackles just two children. They mainly like two main child characters that Jim Caviezel's character Tim Ballard is after and trying to save. That is just a small portion of what his whole operation was ever since he left the CIA, and that is touched on in this movie, so they didn't beat the bush around that. This movie, like Oppenheimer, in my opinion, it's tough. It touches on real-world sensitive issues. It needs to be addressed. It cannot be swept under the rug like some folks want to do, and just write it off as a conspiracy right-wing Trump movie or something. No, not at all. This movie, I mean, this movie just like there are folks that will say they will watch Passion of the Christ one time, they can't watch it again because it's too hard to watch. Like, this is a PG-13 movie, and this was made under the auspice of 20th Century Fox back in 2017, 2018, back in 2016. This movie was made over 5 years ago under a rating with the PG-13. I think if this movie was, if it got the proper respect from, say, a Universal, Paramount, if Disney kept it and put it on Hulu. They did with Prey. They put Prey on Hulu. That should have been a theatrical movie. That's another great movie, by the way. They put that on Hulu, so that was a wasted opportunity by Disney. But Disney could have put it on Hulu. They could have put it on Hulu if they wanted to, and if they wanted to make this movie rated R, you could easily make this movie rated R and dive even like very, very, very graphic detail about all this. But it rides that fence of PG-13 as best as it can to get as much eyes on this movie as possible. This is a big win for Angel Studios. The money going into this movie better be going into that David animated biblical movie going forward. So, great movie to be watching for Sound of Freedom. I can't recommend it anymore. And yeah, this is one of those movies where I can't see it more than once. Like, that hits me. Like, I will watch Passion of the Christ every single Easter, every single Good Friday, like as far as back as I can remember. I can watch that movie for as many years as I can. I cannot watch this movie again. I just can't. I mean, that's just me. With that down, we're going to bring in our two special guests today for this podcast episode. And this is a bit of a family reunion, should you say, with Monarch Media. We have here Rakeem Rocky Morris and Paul Briggs. How are you two gentlemen doing today?
Oh, well, I'm glad to be here.
Wow, look at our Josh Mickle. Came a long way. I'm proud to see you doing what you're doing.
Hey, you've gone a long way too, Rocky. You're over there in Maryland, Baltimore, D.C. area. So
yeah, it's different. I'll say that. It's different than being, in the South. But I'm just glad to see what you're doing. See you doing the movie reviews and chasing endorsements. Like, wow. Like,
if MoviePass don't give you an endorsement within 30 days, I may make a phone call myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least 30 days after the episode airs.
I mean, I had no choice but to go with MoviePass. I'm lucky they came around again because they originally filed for bankruptcy with previous ownership that bought the company away from the current CEO that founded this company so many years ago, and then he got bought out by two investors. So he was able to bring back the company from the dead, essentially, with MoviePass. Yeah. And Malco Theaters, if you remember, Paul, there are no big theater chains here in Memphis. There's not. Why? I don't know. Some people say, oh, they get back to the community. Some people say, oh, they've been here since the 1920s, 1950s. They have a monopoly on the area. Or I hear, oh, they just pay the big chain theaters not to come here. I'm like, that last one's stupid.
Dumb.
That last one reasoning is stupid.
Dumb. Memphis is a top 50 media market. It's dumb to have that even as a notion. And I'm thinking in my head, every movie chain or every movie location that I could think of, and it either no longer exists, or at least talking from my colleagues and my sister and different ones, because I've been going 15 years, and it's like, wait a minute, so you had Peabody Place, they had a Movico, but then that's no longer there. You had the Paradiso. I remember when it was built. Is the Paradiso still standing? I know they made a whole big deal about that.
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know.
Yeah, the Paradiso. The AMC, I think there was one in like a Germantown, and there was one South Haven when they first opened it. But I think that South Haven one was up and closed in like 2 or 3 years because nobody went. But then the one in AMC, and that didn't last long. There was another one, Cinemark. But I think the only Cinemark was Summer 12. The Summer 12, right where Summer and Sam Cooper, right off Sam Cooper. There was a movie thing there that was cheap. And then you had the Highland Quartet, which was by by University of Memphis, the Highland Quartet. So, yep. So I think the one by what's the Overton Park? I think the one over there by Overton, over in the square, is still around. And then there's like an avant-garde one that do like a lot of international movies and stuff like that. God, I forgot even where is that. I think that one may be still open. But other than that, I won't tell my friends about movies that do they do a referral thing, because I need to make sure you get at least some referral money or something.
I mean, if it's on MoviePass.com, then I honestly don't know. I just went there, signed up. It took a while to get the MoviePass card to me, because I wanted to have it when Flash was coming out, when all of those movies was coming out back in June. I did not have it for that, unfortunately. So, so Transformers, Spider-Verse, like those 3 main movies, I had to pay out of my pocket for that one. So, all right.
I like the way this set up. You got 2 black people on the outside and the 1 white dude in the middle. So you should call us the Oreo crew or something. Like, what we got going on, Josh?
Hey, those are your words, not mine. I do not endorse that. I don't condole them. Those are your words. I'm gonna choose my words lightly here. So what's been going on? Yeah. So what's been going on with you, Rocky? Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool. I've been with the news still. As you know, you and I, Josh, we both worked at WTKR at one point together.
Yeah.
I remember you venture out to go to church, do church work, and it was a void missing when you left. So I wound up actually going to Baltimore because I felt like I learned everything I could learn in WTKR in Norfolk. So I was like, you know what, it's time for me to take another step, and I wound up moving to Baltimore, and a lot of more murders. There's a lot of the crime scene we're like 3rd in homicide in Baltimore, so you go to a lot of crime scenes, but the pay is way more. I mean, if anything, I guess that's a silver lining. And I think the news station where I'm at now, we're much more community based. Mm-hmm. We don't really go to as much as, because I used to work at WBFF Fox 45, which they have this whole city in crisis thing. That's our main mantra. That's their main mantra. Every crime scene, every shooting, Fox 45 is there. And, we always we sort of like, I felt like, in my opinion, like gotcha news. So we always have the camera up on we always go to a politician spot, have the mic up in their face, make sure they don't say anything crazy or why the crime is so high and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, that seemed not to be my speed. So I wound up going to another news station, WMAR. They're less in your face, more community based, more you know. It's like more of a balance. It's not like everything's in crisis all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's nice and refreshing to hear that, Rocky. All three of us have had our lumps, our ups and downs from Monarch Media, and then ever since 2020, and then it just seemed like we were going in different directions. They cut back on the staff at ODU. I parted ways with News 3. 2020 is definitely most people want to forget it. I will never forget it for how horrendously stupid it was. Now looking at it in hindsight for most people. So, when it comes to mandates, masking, especially the masking part, it's just ridiculous in hindsight when we think about it now. When I was still with WTKR, since I was part of the morning crew, we kept our vehicles as part of our social distancing. Our morning reporter would drive their car, and we would just keep our car and drive it back home. My car had to be taken to a shop, and then our boss, I won't say his name just out of respect, because I don't want to batch his name publicly. He picks me up, tells me to drive, and then he says, I'm going to get in the back seat for social distancing. I'm like, that's not how it works. We're in a confined space right here. And you're saying being in the back seat is social distancing.
I see a 15-passenger van, then that would.
No, it was like an SUV. He was in the back seat of the SUV, towards the right, and I'm driving. That's where I'm like, this is lunacy. But out of respect, I will not say his name. I will not say his name.
I know what you're talking about, but I can see him saying something like that.
Yeah, out of respect, I will not say his name. So,
and Paul knows who it is too. he has run-ins with him too. Yeah. Trust me.
All right.
I would call it run-ins, but it was meeting of the minds, I'll say. I had no issue with meeting of the minds, but.
All right.
But I want to talk about a little bit about what I've been, since I don't know if that was your next question.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I was actually getting to you. I was actually trying to get to you. So,
yeah.
Last but not least, our former boss, Paul Briggs. What's been going on with you?
Oh, let's see. Oh my God, it's been such a blur. So I stayed through 2021, and in the middle of that's when my time at Old Dominion was up after 13 years, and then I was with the MEAC for 2 days short of 6 months with the MEAC. But I can still continue to work with them in some fashion when it comes to the championships or all the special projects that they have. We still have an ongoing relationship. So just because I know with a lot of the stuff that we do is specialized, and it's just there's not that many people walking the earth that do what we do. Especially all three of us have been in some sort of video, and especially in the sports realm. So we are a special breed and special group of people. But and now I've been launching out, and it got to the point where my Live Live imprint, which I started up officially in October of last year. So officially incorporated, OLC, all of that. And because it really came down to more of a faith walk thing with me, because it was like, if I never step out on faith now, when was I going to do it? Because pretty much everything that I was looking at was dried up. And then I was like, Lord, what do I got left? Well, what I had left was this dream had been to be able to do sports production on my own and be able to sit at the table and with folks and negotiate deals and stuff like that. So I was like, well, if I don't try now, at least while I still have some vitality left, then where else, Because too often, I've seen where God has blessed you guys to be able to go off and do great things, and I kid you not, I was comfortable staying at Old Dominion. I would have stayed at Old Dominion 25, 30 years. 35. I think 35 years was the most you could stay, and then after that, then you get full pension or what have you. I was content to stay and not leave and anything like that. But I think all this stuff that happens with starting with the pandemic and then other factors was kind of a way of getting me out of the rut and out of the boat because now having going out onto my own and going out, especially in freelance, I become more like awakened Thor, for lack of a better term, because now I'm seeing how much bigger the fields are, so to speak, that that I don't think had I just stayed where I was comfortable doing that Old Dominion, I would have never seen those forests for the trees that was right in front of me because it's been a lot. And then being on more so of the quote unquote cutting edge of the business to where you're seeing the people who are making the decisions that's doing stuff real time. I'm sitting in interviews with people who are helping rewrite and change the rules of the game as we know it versus being second hand or third hand. Okay, well, once they make these rules changes, now, okay, now we get it and now we got to adjust. Now I'm like, okay, I get to meet the people who set these policies and make the rules. And it's like, oh, wow. And understand the gravitas that like I had kind of an idea, but when you're in the seat, when you have to think of everybody else, and but you're in a situation where nobody thinks of you, but you have to think of everybody else, all the networks, all the schools, who's the people doing the work. It just can be a lot, and a lot of times it just falls back on you as the person. You're like, okay, I'm the one in charge. I got to make sure all this happens. I mean, but there's still levels to it. There's still levels to it, because you still have, like I said, you still have presidents and ADs that make decisions and stuff, and those of us in video, we just got to run it. And then you have those that, where the leadership brings them to the table and be like, hey, well, what do you think about this? Or what's going to be practical? And then it's like you get that feedback, and that's the ones where, like I'll use for example the SEC, where you can tell, okay, they gave you guys a seat at the table to be able to say, hey, if if we're going to do this, then we need to set up to where all of our member schools can do it, or this needs to be any member schools wanting to come in. This should be what they should be able capable of doing. If not, then they need to be able to get to that level if they want to be a member. So it's a lot, man. Especially with collegiate athletic as of this recording. I know the Pac-12, well, is down to four. No, by the time we get to Monday, and maybe
you better jump in.
right, right. So like even talking with my colleagues and stuff that's attached to it and different various forms in the business. It's from the conference level to the school level to it's a lot. I just what the game what we have become as an industry. And I sat there and I thought about this. Oh my God! About a week or so ago, about 2 weeks ago, I said I just remember when I started in '98 because this is my 25th year in video, 22 years in athletics, 3 years doing some ministry broadcasts and the other stuff. Uh, I just remember when it was just clock and score, and we just showed up, shot practice, put it on the VHS tape, handed the coach. God bless you. Good night. Now, the industry has become a five-headed monster. It's five. You still got that team film, which I started out on. Then you got all the streaming and broadcast stuff that you have to do now. Then you have the in-venue stuff that you have to do with the jumbotron and all the videos that gotta go there. You got the Kiss Cam, you got Flex Cam or there, and all the other marketing ish related stuff. That content that helps pay the bills to help get the cameras and the jumbotrons and all of that because nobody needs a jumbotron at home. The jumbotrons in the stadium and so I get all of that. Then you have to deal with the refs film, the referee, the officials, making sure they have the calls right, making sure they have all the angles that we have on the broadcast production side. So that has always been a fight. And then you have the review process on either that following Monday or the next business day. As far as coaches is upset, hey, da da da. submit to play in, and now we have to sit there as a conference. Haven't been on the conference. I sit there, look at it. Commissioner makes a call. God forbid if it's a fight. Oh Jesus, how we have to the levels we have to go to when it comes to stuff like that. This one, best believe it is. I now have more sympathy for whoever's the conference or the league personnel when it comes that's in charge of video. When it comes to something like that, a fight, because I mean, just that you're not getting no sleep. Go to your office, you ain't getting no sleep because you have to have frame by frame breakdown who did what did whom, or whichever. It's a mess. It's a mess. So, so you have that, and then last but not least, the fifth element, which is the social media angle / recruiting / the highlight post production tape, end of the year highlight. You got just so much of that because you're looking at for two people, the players you currently have, and for the recruits you're trying to get, because they see the game from a whole different vantage point than the fans, then the boosters, then the parents, then the alumni. They're looking at it from a whole different vantage point, So it's just it's a five-headed monster. When I came to Old Dominion in 2008, it was a three-headed monster. We done went from 3 to 5 in just that short of time. In 15 years, it's madness. It's madness.
All right, and with that out of the way, we are going to dive into our main topics today, and we're going to start off with some entertainment news, and we're actually going to dive into two of them. One of them shooting at the last second, but it's going to be an interesting one that I know you two are going to have a say in. But immediately on the docket, it was reported a few weeks ago that Gal Gadot has said that, yes, she had a talk with then DC Studios, James Gunn, and Peter Safran that, yes, a Wonder Woman 3 movie is happening. It's coming up. They're in development of it. It's not dead yet, but if you read the tea leaves of it all, it's pretty much like a very slim quote of her saying, yeah, this project's not dead. Folks ran with it saying, oh, it's confirmed. Variety and WB have hit back and said it's not happening once and for all. They are not doing a Wonder Woman 3, and thus confirming that Superman Legacy, that is scheduled to come out in July of 2025, the start of the new DC Cinematic Universe, will be the reboot of the whole universe. So I'll start with you, Rocky. Bummed out you're not getting a Wonder Woman 3, or you want them to do Wonder Woman 3 and still pave way with this reboot that they're doing?
I mean, granted, I understand. I don't know if it's from her personal pockets or, Gal Gadot, she's going to get jobs regardless. She's going to get, a movie role just based on, I hate to say it, based on how she looks. I mean, she's going to get a role, but I like the first Wonder Woman. The second Wonder Woman was, I wasn't a huge fan of the second one. I mean, how many good third trilogies of a movie, how many movies have good third trilogy? Like a good.
We're just coming off of Guardians 3, and that was a great movie.
Yeah.
Done by James Gunn, who's now in charge of DC now. So if you want the director, like someone in charge, to be like, hey, we'll do the third movie with you, James Gunn's the guy to do it right now. He's coming off of Guardians 3. So
Did he do Flash too? Did he do the Flash?
No. He had no involvement in the Flash. No. That was done years ago and got delayed for years. So, yeah. James Gunn has nothing to do with Shazam 2. Pretty much every DC movie you have seen up until Aquaman 2, which is slated to come out in December, James Gunn has zero involvement in. DC Studios has not made those movies. Their first production movie will be Superman Legacy.
Okay. So, in that case, I'm willing to see what he can do with Wonder Woman, but at the same time, I wouldn't be, crying if they didn't make a third one. I mean, it's just one of those things that, I feel like I mean, do we need more representation? Women superheroes. You know, I mean, I don't. Like I said, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I wouldn't. I mean, it's a toss up for me. You know, because at the end of the day, I feel like women do. I mean, girls do want that representation. You know, of seeing them being strong. I mean, you got the black. Even though it's a completely different, you know, you got Marvel, you know, having women superheroes. DC, I guess they try and have their own version of it, you know. But Wonder Woman, I think, is probably older than all of the other Marvel women heroes. So that's like the OG of women heroes. So you know, it's one of those things that you know, I don't know. It's a toss up for me, man. Like I hope she get. I hope most. I'm about 51-49 with this.
51-49
for it. I think I'm a tad bit more for it just because of the women representation part of it. But
yeah, you're gonna. There's going to be another Wonder Woman movie. The question is, do you want the third one, or do you want it to be the fresh rebooted one that's going to be part of this new DC universe? It's coming eventually. It's gonna come. We got a new Batman movie. We got a new Superman movie, and Wonder Woman is gonna get her reboot as well. Paul, speaking to you.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with Rock from the standpoint of having that representation. But Josh, given what you just said, I'm now leaning. If Wonder Woman is going to get one, either way it goes, then give me the reboot. If we're going to start clean slate, so be it. Give me the reboot because there's no sense of doing the third one, even if that third one is great, and then everybody was kind of like, it was the last one, and it kind of gets cast aside in the canon or in movie fans' eyes because it was like, where was the last one? Like case in point, the last X-Men movie that came out before Marvel got the rights back. You know, because even in that, people was thinking, okay, this is going to be the last one that was on the Fox, I think it was, or whatever. Yeah, so I think even for me as a X-Men fan and Marvel fan, I just sat there and in my mind I was like, oh, there was things that didn't quite go right or things that was kind of like, some liberties. I was like, okay, I felt like they were just doing it just to fulfill the contract, for lack of a better term, versus having an impetus because they know this is the end of the storyline. There's not going to be another X-Men to build off of this. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I wouldn't want that same thing to happen to Wonder Woman. Because if she's going to get one in the reboot and Gail was going to be part of it, then okay, then fine. I'm like, Gail, just wait till the reboot. And then we just roll with that.
Blue Beetle is coming out next week. And that is supposedly, if you take the wording of James Gunn literally, Blue Beetle is going to be the first viewing of this new universe. They have they have taken that property. I am assuming that Blue Beetle is so far removed from the previous canon of Zack Snyder's universe that they just said, hey, this movie's good. There's not much touching the Snyderverse. We can easily say it's in our new universe going forward. That's the wording that they said, that Blue Beetle is the first DCU character you see, but Superman Legacy is the first movie produced by DC Studios that you will see in our new universe. So outside of Blue Beetle, Aquaman 2 is going to come out. If Flash is any indication, that movie is just going to bomb and flail at the box office. I mean, Blue Beetle might flop too. I mean, but hey, it has a small budget. Aquaman's going through 3 new sets of reshoots now, and that movie's supposed to come out in December. But hey, DC needs this reboot. They've been stagnant. As much as I love the Snyder cut, 4-hour cut of Justice League and how awesome that movie is, and I think it's better than the first 2 Avengers movies, the majority of the audience has said, like, they have voted with their wallets. This current iteration of the DC extended universe, the DCEU they call it, this universe is dead. The audience is not supporting it. they are going to, and it was just reported that this year alone, for how much loss and profit that the DC movies are going to have, it's going to total to over $1 billion in losses for between all four movies this year, with Shazam 2, Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2 that's projected. Now, Blue Beetle is a small budget movie and it could easily make $300-400 million and make a profit. Aquaman 2, that is not the situation. That movie's gone through 3 different reshoots and 4 different endings that they shot with Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, and just cut those 2 out entirely. So that's topic after a long thing of that. So this one's off the cuff, and it's actually a pretty big one. There was a report from the recent Hollywood Traits that they lay out a possibility where none other than Apple is looking to purchase Disney and all their media assets. Now, it goes into detail as to what Apple would not want and what Disney would have to do to divest themselves from such things in order for Apple to feel comfortable of making such purchase. Apple's valued at $2 trillion with a T. Disney is valued at $163 billion with a B. And according to the Hollywood Reporter, Apple has $62 billion in cash just sitting around waiting for it to be used for purchase. $62 billion just ready to be used. And the Hollywood Reporter and Variety line up that what Disney has done to divest themselves and cut their losses with some things, cut some shows. There's word that they're going to dump ESPN and sell that off. There's word they're going to be dumping off ABC, a whole bunch of other entities, to where it's just entertainment with movies, TV shows, and Hulu. That's all that's left for Apple to say, okay, we will submit a bid and we will purchase you outright now. I will swing it over to you, Paul, first. How would you be, what would your reaction be if you found out tomorrow that Tim Cook has purchased the Walt Disney Studios?
Wow. I'm stunned. I'm stunned because I never thought I would live in a world where Mickey Mouse would be owned by somebody outside of Disney. If anything, the mouse has always been the thing that eats up everything it wants. Case in point, if you go to the city of Orlando, unfortunately for me, is not one of my favorite places to visit. It's just not. Mainly because the cost of getting to Orlando and getting from Orlando is cheap. Staying there is ridiculously expensive because of the mouse. The mouse, literally half of Orlando is cut off just because of the mouse. It's like people are just there just to go and stay and go, and they got to stay somewhere. So it's just the mouse eats whatever it wants. So when it went to my ABC, when it went to be at ESPN, it's like the mouse literally. And I never thought nothing else could eat the mouse, but a cat can. Well, or in this case, the apple, got the mouse. So oh wow, yeah, I'm poisoning the apple. We're going back to Snow White for real. But
there you go.
Now it all comes back relative. The brothers go now. Let's keep it above. Walt Disney, what did they build their backs off of? Really, the Brothers Grimm stories. If you really look at all of Disney's early classics, were the Brothers Grimm stories. Now, I've always felt like all the descendants of Brothers Grimm should have lifetime passes to every Disney park and any other thing Disney got out there. Now, that being said, for them to go back to what they was purely being, to divest the ESPN, to divest the ABC and all that, now put Disney back to what they always was, which was just entertainment, production, have a good time. Now, if you put that with Apple, let's be honest, Apple Apple TV has been one of those things that I just felt like it was a cool idea, but just never caught fire. I do not have, as a Mac guy and a iPhone guy, all that. I do not have a viable reason, short of content, just short of content. I don't have a viable reason why Apple TV wasn't a bigger hit or as big of a hit as, say, Amazon Fire Stick. I think some of it was price point. That's just me, price point, because a Fire Stick was cheap, and then you got some people that like to do other things with Fire Sticks, which I won't say on the show. But but so for Apple, it kind of gets what they always wanted to do with that division, which is have a landing spot for their platform for all of that. Now, does Apple really want to get into managing theme parks? That's not very Apple-ish of them. But if Apple was to have a theme park, what would it look like? Okay. I think that's just kind of like but that's so centric Disney. To take that away from Disney, basically what Apple wants from Disney is what have always made Disney Disney, which is the entertainment, the fun, the mouse, the movies, the cartoons, all of that. Like ESPN was never Disney, ABC was never Disney. It's just some Disney hell. So Apple just wants the Disney. The Apple itself needs a mascot. Okay, the Apple doesn't talk. The mouse can. We'll just
All right, Rocky. What do your initial thoughts? What do you think?
True. For me, I thought it was what took them long enough. Like, it's only a matter of time. Apple, like you said, everybody knew. I mean, it's been reports that it was worth $1 trillion. I'm like, okay, what is the next thing Apple wants to buy? And the next biggest name, I think, is Disney. So, and I agree with Paul. I like you mentioned, diversify. What, like Paul mentioned, ESPN, ABC. Disney can easily get rid of those. I mean, like you said, Disney start off with kids and theme park and having a good time.
This is including everything that they have in their catalog, from everything Hulu, like everything from the Fox acquisition, everything Marvel related, everything Star Wars related, National Geographic, like all of it. Pixar, which you want to talk about coming around. We were just talking about James Gunn coming back, like this coming back around the circle. Guess who was on the board of Pixar before Disney bought it? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was on the board of Pixar. And Bob Iger was on the board of Apple before he became CEO of Disney back in 2007. And now he's been brought back as CEO to like clean up the mess that the previous CEO, whether it be of his fault of his own or what's been going on in this political climate or whatnot, to try to hone it in and do some damage control, either to get this company back to where it was in 2019 or to set this up to potentially sell it, like to sell the company and make money for their stockholders. So I'll throw it back to you, Rocky. Sorry for interrupting.
Well, no, you good. I was for a quick second, I had to look up because you mentioned Steve Jobs, and okay, with Steve Jobs,
he was involved in Pixar somehow. When they first started.
Is Wozniak still living?
Excuse me?
Wozniak?
Pixar.
Yeah, but he's asking is Wozniak.
Wozniak.
Is he still living?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think Wozniak was just like computer based. I don't know anything if he was in anything entertainment related.
Oh, okay. Because I'm about to say, I'm pretty sure Wozniak had a lot to do with Apple's beginnings too. I thought he would want some type of stake in if he was still alive. But I would think if anything, I think Disney should really take a look at if we are like really laying off these people, we need to have some type of band-aid to, aid these people from losing their jobs. I think they could strongly consider getting rid of ESPN and, letting Apple take care of that. Get that, to where I'm looking for. Get that off their shoulders, that stress of, because, you don't want to keep having headlines.
Disney's the one that has to get rid of it, not Apple.
No, I meant like the thing is, Apple should be able to afford to keep those, have.
They can afford it, but they don't want to. That's the thing. They don't want to.
When you're dealing with ABC, now you got to deal with the feds, FCC regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're talking about broadcast entity. Apple's not in the business. Apple just want to provide content for the broadcast. They get paid for it. They don't want to be the ones in charge of now actually doing the broadcasting.
Okay, gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? That's a whole other overhead cost that there's no ROI.
That was one of the original roadblocks that folks were bringing up when Disney was acquiring Fox. You have Fox News, you had FS1, which was going head to head with ESPN. So there's no way that folks believe that Disney could own both sides of the sporting networks essentially and have a monopoly there. So they had to divest themselves of those entities because they had ABC and they had ESPN. They couldn't keep FS1, Fox News and whatnot. So ABC, not ABC, Apple's. It looks like Disney is setting themselves up to divert those two companies, like ABC and ESPN. And then when that happens, Disney's going to get extra money in the bank, plus whatever offer Apple gives out to them. They're going to be going home very nicely. They're going to be going home richer than they were yesterday.
Apple must be stopped.
Don't let the Android folks. Don't let them get home. They're gonna be hollering.
Wow! Look at that artifact he has in his hand.
It's not no artifact. Jeez. I can still have a headphone jack on this thing. It's better than Bluetooth in the car. It's better than car Bluetooth.
I feel you. I respect the Android game.
Yeah.
I used to be an Android. I used to hold Android in my hand too.
Yeah, me too.
The only reason why I switched to Apple because they're definitely better at film and editing and all that stuff.
I agree. I absolutely agree. My two things. I just have two requests from Apple and just have it as an option and come out with a version of this every 5-10 years, not every year. Give me the option to have a headphone jack and give me the option to have a mini SD card that I can plug into my phone, that I don't have to go every single year to buy a new phone or purchase more money for cloud coverage. Yeah. That's two things. That's all I ask. I agree. I agree. Apple is the iPhone is the superior phone outside those two features. That's just me. That's just me. I'm totally on board with you. All right, Rocky. This next one is going to be my thoughts on this real quick. Disney, the past year and a half, has not been the box office juggernaut that it once was. Part of that is through their own doing of shooting themselves in the foot with the audience, and some of it has to do with the film quality. Marvel, outside of Guardians 3, Black Panther 2, and Doctor Strange, all of their Marvel movies have underperformed. I am not counting Spider-Man No Way Home. That is a Sony-produced, distributed movie. That is Sony's money that they're keeping. That's Sony's movie. You take away those four movies, just Marvel alone, you're subpar. You're subpar with your movies. You're subpar. Star Wars. You have not had one film come out since The Rise of Skywalker. And the one film Lucasfilm does put out is Indiana Jones, which was made for a budget of over $300 million, and marketing cost you over $100 million, at least $150. So you're talking $850 to $1 billion just to break even. And this film's box office is over $350 million. Disney's going to be taking a big bath with Indiana Jones 5. So who knows if that's going to lead to Kathleen Kennedy, the lady running Lucasfilm, if she's going to be finally ousted, we don't know. Maybe Tim Cook will finally make that switch when they get a hold of Disney.
Wait, did Disney make Barbie or no?
No, that's Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers? Oh, okay.
Oh Lord. If they made Barbie, I'm actually going to see that tomorrow. I'm actually going to be seeing Barbie tomorrow. So hopefully, I've heard. I mean, just quick.
I heard good things. I heard good things too.
Quick tangent on Barbie. I've heard the extreme bad, and I've heard the extreme good of how Barbie, of like at least in my circles, of what the film messaging represents. I've heard folks say this is a super woke movie, and I've heard folks say, no, if you look at it from the angle of this is a feminist movie where the Barbie is the villain of the movie, then you look at it from that angle and it's a great movie. So I'm going to go into Barbie tomorrow with that like putting those at the door, and I'm going to judge it on myself and see who's more in the right than the not. So it's interesting that movie is so polarizing. So, yeah, go ahead, Rocky.
No, I was just telling. I heard that this movie had a similar storyline to Black Panther for some strange reason. The first Black Panther. The storyline is what they said about Ken. I don't know. They said Ken has almost the same exact storyline as Black Panther does.
If you were to say Killmonger, I could see that because of what I heard with what happens with Ken.
I mean, let's be
him
honest.
And Killmonger. I could
Killmonger was really what the first Black Panther was about. It was really the Killmonger story. I mean, that's
yeah. So, but yeah, to finish this up real quickly, Star Wars would infinitely be better if Apple had their hands on it. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's going to be infinitely better if Apple has their hands on Star Wars. We will not be getting the treatment that we got in Secret Invasion with Marvel if Apple were the sole owners of Disney and Marvel. That last episode of Secret Wars is so bad. It is that I can't discuss. Oh my! I'm gonna blow a gasket of how OP one of the characters is by the end of the show, to where you're like, what are they? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? No, she has to be depowered tremendously if she's going to appear again in the next TV show or movie come down the line. That's a whole nother tangent. Bottom line, yes, I would totally support Apple buying Disney. It will definitely be interesting because Apple, as far as I'm aware of, is not that open in terms of like the culture wars with politics. So, I mean, that's my understanding of the company. Like they don't vocalize their stuff like say how Disney has been doing the last 2-3 years to their audience. So, if anything, Apple will definitely rein that in and then build that confidence and trust back in the audience with the content that they create going forward. So I'll leave that at there. Rocky, this one's focused on you, my friend. Your Washington Commanders, your owner, Dan Snyder, arguably the worst owner in the NFL. I would say he is not the worst owner in the NFL. That goes to someone else, in my opinion.
That's kind of tough.
Man. He has sold the team for over $6 billion after purchasing the team for $800 million. A profit margin of $5.8 billion, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I will shoot it to you, the infamous dead skin football team, Commander Savant. What are your thoughts on the Commander selling? And do you have, what are your expectations for this year and Sam Howell, or wherever tangent you want to get on? So, first and foremost, Dan Snyder, he's gone. What are your thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, I have been a fan since, because believe it or not, I haven't really been a football fan since probably 2010, 2011. I'm still kind of recent to being a football fan. So
you came around when RG3 came into the team then?
Yeah, I was I was around there when RG3, probably around 2011, 2010.
Yeah, 2012.
That's when I started really paying attention to football. And a lot of people didn't know that, but you would think such. I watch football all the time. I'm like addicted to football, but I, based on what I've seen with Dan Snyder, I don't have as much hate as all the people that have been fans before me, because they experienced it much longer than I have. So I give, but I will say that I feel like there's a lot of optimism in the air, with this new ownership, especially having an owner that now owns that's capable of producing teams that go to a playoffs consistently with another franchise, with the Philadelphia Sixers. Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. Many people say, which I agree, many fans believe that they got their team back. And I feel the same way. Like, based on how they based on Dan Snyder ownership, all you heard was, this is when I was, beginning to become a fan. You start hearing all these about these sexual allegations. Everything was negative when it came to, the team. And, there was never no positive story. And it was just like, okay, when are we going to talk about football? There's always a distraction. You got the players asking questions about how you feel about, all the allegations going on with the team. No questions asking about football, So, it was just it's kind of refreshing to, hear football talk again when it comes to like practices and, who we're looking for to cut, like who's been doing a good job in training camp, who to look for, what's some surprising, players. I'm not used to hearing that. I'm used to hearing, Dan Snyder is suing Washington Post. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? Like, this has nothing to do with what a fan wants to know about their team.
Welcome to the rest of us. Welcome to the rest of us.
Yeah, I finally feel like our team is part of the NFL, like literally now. Like about time. Like it feels weird to say that. I mean, obviously we are part of the NFL, but did you see how the owners did when they welcomed Josh Harris into, when they did the vote on allowing him to, sell the, have ownership of the team? Everybody was all smiles. Even the commissioner, I remember Josh Harris went to the podium to address the media for the first time. And they made a sly comment. I mean, what's his name? The owner, the NFL, the commissioner, Roger Goodell. Josh Harris said, "I won't let you down," and Roger Goodell's like, "Yeah, we know." So that was like a shot at Dan Snyder. And
right, you can't do worse than the last guy.
Yeah.
Don't put your ticket prices at $5 and you'll be good.
The bar is low. The bar is low.
Like I tell you one thing, no team better not go to FedEx Field against Washington, because I'm telling you, that fan base is going to act like they never seen a football team a day in their life. There's going to be a lot of people at that stadium. Even though I would say they need to be careful, because that stadium is a little, dangerous. You don't want no balcony be falling down or anything like that, because it's so out of date.
Or I'm taking a dump somewhere and then that goes into someone's pretzel below.
Yeah. You hear a lot of horror stories about, the pipe being burst and all that. The TV's not working in the suites. That's all Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder did not take care. And plus, on top of that, he's stealing money from the owners. So that was another storyline. See, there is so much about this guy, And then on top of that, we got Eric Bieniemy. He's a breath
I'm
of fresh
jealous.
air.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that. I wanted him to be my offensive coordinator. But hey, more power to you. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's I mean, a little bit of PTSD creeped in last week. Because there's always some type of circus going on with the organization. I don't know if you recall the storyline of Ron Rivera slipping up, saying that some of the players are complaining
about Airbnb. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Ron, Ron, what are you doing? You don't say that to the media. You acting like Dan Snyder is in ownership. We're past it.
What's wrong with what he said? There's nothing wrong with what he said. He said, "Hey, if you have a problem,
no.
Take it up with him.
There was something.
He's in charge of the offense, not me."
No. You're not supposed to.
All this is what Ron Rivera should have said, and I'm gonna repeat exactly what what's his name, one of the NFL analysts, they were talking about this subject, and this is what Don Rivera should have said when the question was asked, "How's Eric Bieniemy? Are there any problems how the players feel about Eric Bieniemy's teaching?" Ron Rivera should have said no. No. Next question. That's all he gonna say.
I hate coach speak. And I have a coach speak coach. And between Ron Rivera and Sean Payton and their comments the last 2 weeks, I welcome it. I welcome fresh air, fresh perspective, and it's not politically correct. Sean Payton went after the last brass in the Broncos of like, man, how'd you screw this up? Like, literally, those were his words. Like, how did they screw this up right here? And all you have to ask is, did Patrick Mahomes have a problem with this? If the answer is no, then why are you complaining? Yeah.
And you know what?
Ain't none of y'all Patrick Mahomes. And I'm sure Eric Bieniemy strikes me as the type of coach that he probably used that line at some point. Ain't none of y'all Patrick Mahomes. Ain't none of y'all Travis Kelce. Ain't none of y'all Tyreek Hill. Hey, none of y'all Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He didn't got a ring. It's like, is there anybody on this offense outside of McLaurin that's been to a Pro Bowl? No.
I mean, think about it. Like, you know what? Like, it's weird because Washington players are not used to that intensity. That I am glad that Eric Bieniemy is cussing these players out because
your offense sucks. Yeah,
that shows you that there's change coming. There's
ain't no change coming. Change is here.
Change is here. Yes,
change is here.
We're not used to. We're used to 2 weeks ago. We're used to a Jay Gruden type of coach that wants to be like the football players. The coach should not be feeling like a football player. The coach should not be feeling like he can, like our coach, literally. When we had Jay Gruden, they were giving our head coach ear willies. What are you doing? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Why are you touching our coach like that? This is our head coach. This is supposed to be our leader. You should not be giving your coach ear willies. Like, no. And on top of that, the coach apparently the coach had like a thing going on with one of the. And that's all Dan Snyder. My bad. I'm so wild up right now. Like,
oh no, I welcome it. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just it's so refreshing to have Eric Bieniemy, to dictate. He's weeding out all the weak links. I'll say that.
And this is where I also fault the Snyder regime for. Oh my God. The former players that have come out in the last 2 days, Clinton, Porter, Santana, Moore. I'm talking about folks that they have gone hell. Like anybody who was something the Jack King Cook era. Those dudes have gone in. Talking about, wait a minute, what? What did you? Most of them won Super Bowl. They got rings on their fingers. They're hollering. Talk about what? Like you almost like it offended them so to the point. It was like you don't even call yourself Washington. You are just something else. You just wear colors. You don't even you're not even worthy. They're not even worthy of wearing the burgundy and gold. They should wear the alternate black uniforms until they get the act together.
But going to Sam,
quick question, Rocky. Quick question. There's rumblings. It's just rumors. It's just rumor. Do you think your new owner should change the name? Do you like the new name? Oh, yeah. Do you think they should go back to the Redskins and have some nuts in this?
I be honest. for me, at the end of the day, I'm not really big on the name thing, but I don't think they're gonna. I know they're gonna change. They're gonna definitely change the name for sure. I almost guarantee you that because they don't want any type of resonance of Dan Snyder. Luckily, Ron Rivera is literally coaching for his job right now. Like you already know, as soon if we go,
new owner comes in, new owner comes in, he wants his guy,
you already know if he has a slow start, we somehow going 2-5 or something like that. Ron Rivera's gone. Slow start. Ron Rivera can't afford to have a slow start. So, and it's weird because I haven't seen Ron Rivera smile so big in my life ever since the new ownership came along. Like he's been so. I'm like, this dude's awfully smiling a lot for a person to have their job on the line. Like
he's got that Gal Gadot confidence. That's what he's got. He thinks everything's all sunshine and rainbows.
No, and the thing is, and I feel like either he knows he got something, he knows he has something with Eric Bieniemy. I think he knows that it's weird because you don't know if Ron Rivera hired somebody that could potentially he hired his predecessor or hired, he completely just effed up everybody else's career, as far as being a coach. Which what I think might happen is, this is my opinion, what's going to happen. Ron Rivera is going to wind up saving his job because of Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy will finally get a new job being the head coach. And I think the next following year will dictate if he can do it without Eric Bieniemy. Because I think Eric Bieniemy, he only needs 1 year to prove that he could take a team to the playoffs and possibly win a playoff game.
If he could do with Sam Howell, like if he throws for 3,500 yards and whatnot, you can write his ticket to be the next head coach somewhere next year.
Somewhere.
Even though he signed a 2-year contract,
he gone.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know. Maybe with new ownership, they may be willing to
pay him more.
Like how the Cowboys did with the whole Dan Quinn thing. We'll pay you more money to stay. Like,
Patriots with Josh McDaniels for a while, yeah.
Right. I wouldn't. With the new ownership group, though. See, that's the thing. With the new ownership group, who knows? Because my thing is, if you think the enemy could be that guy, let's say if they kill it, the enemy could be that guy. Now, granted, it would be a bad look with being the new ownership because it would not be the NFL way. It would be the way in the NBA, and we've seen it with Mark Jackson getting hurt. But I could see where Ron Rivera get let go, and we just gonna make the enemy the head coach because we feel like the enemy is the reason why. Especially if the defense is the reason why we ain't. Okay, then I can see where it'd be like, look, we just gonna make the enemy the full name, and then we feel like the ceiling is higher with him than just you keeping Ron for another year. And like what Rock said, if the enemy ends up going somewhere else, and then Ron Rivera they go to 7-10 or something like that, or 8-8 or 8-9, and then he gets canned anyway. It's like now not only you fired him, you let go of the offensive coordinator that you thought could have been a good viable candidate. So you lose too.
It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird situation.
But it's the NFL way. If he's winning, you're not going to fire unless you like the Cleveland Cavaliers did with the year when Paul Silas won Coach of the Year and they fired him anyway. It's like unless you're going to win the next dude like they did with Mike Brown, come in and then take you to the finals. Unless that dude is going to do that, you're not going to fire a sitting coach that was successful.
Mm-hmm. It's a Mike Tomlin situation. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, but it doesn't matter if they make the playoffs. But hey,
the Steelers have had a total of 3 coaches in their entire existence. They're an entire different breed when it comes to hiring head coaches.
Yeah, they're a different breed. But that tells you how much work they do, though, because it ain't like none of their coaches was slow. You look at Noel, you look at Bill Cowher,
and exactly. And those are hard coaching. And they talk about Eric Bieniemy being a hard coach. Those are hard coaches, and probably like what are we talking about?
They couldn't play for none of them 3.
Yeah. So and going to Sam Howell,
he looked good the other night.
Yeah, I thought he looked good. The thing is, a lot of people are worried about the offensive line. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. the offensive line is going against a defense that's been together. Every player that's on that defense has been together for 3 or 4 years. What do you expect the offense? Everybody in the offensive line, except like one player, has been consistent with the team. You're going against a whole brand new offensive line against a defensive line that's been together for 4 years. What do you expect that's going to happen? The defense is going to win most of the days. You might have 1 or 2 days where the offensive line might get the better of the defense, but if that's happening, then you should be worried about your defense. You should not be. Your offense should not be outplaying your defense that's been together for 4 years in the same defensive scheme. So, I expect a little bit of, offensive line continuity issues in the beginning, but eventually they have to clean that up. I mean, it's gonna get to a point where
that's why better be coming in hollering. That's what I'm better. I'm coming in hollering.
Yeah, you can't make. I mean, it'll get to the point where the season comes.
The enemy has to help scheme a Super Bowl. Let's be honest. Patrick Mahomes, one of the greatest lost performances I ever seen. When you going into a Super Bowl with no tackles, both of your tackles are gone, and you got to scheme up with Patrick Mahomes is throwing the ball. He's
almost hitting the ground. Yeah, he almost complete the pass
to the ground and still getting balls off. They still could have won that Super Bowl. They still had answers. They schemed up enough with the enemy. But I had games where I had 2 tackles that couldn't play. We still had a chance to win the Super Bowl. I can't even get down to get through a trail. I'm hollering all day long. Hollering. All
I'm saying is I expect, you know what? Surprisingly enough, all of our Washington's wide receivers is at least top 5 in the best in the NFL, I think, in my opinion. You got Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Jahan Dotson. Those are our 3 top wide receivers.
They're top 15. I would say they're top 15. You're pushing it. Like you're pushing it with top 5. You're pushing it.
I don't know about that.
No, Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson.
Stay healthy first. Stay healthy first.
Terry McLaurin never been hurt. Well, Jahan Dotson's been hurt. Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is this is going to be a breakout season for the wide receivers for Washington. That's my cold take. That's my hot take right there. Look out. Everybody can catch. Everybody got hands on the offense on the wide receiver core. But all I'm saying is, I feel like this. I'm very optimistic about this year. I think Sam Howell. The reason why so many people doubted Sam Howell because he was a 5th round pick, and I felt like if he would have went out if he would have came out a year before, they had him projected being a 1st rounder actually the year before. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he waited in a year where there was a bad draft class really devalued his draft stock. So I feel like we got steal. But who knows? It's really up to Eric Bieniemy's scheme and how the offensive line, holds up. I'm just glad Dan Snyder's gone. If anything else, that's probably the key thing this off season. People thought would never happen, and it wound up actually happening. So it's all smiles over here.
Your Dan Snyder analogy is my Dylan Brooks analogy. If anything for the off season, that man's gone. He's not my problem anymore. I'm glad he's gone. You're glad he's gone. Like we're just glad our respective fellow men are gone from our loved franchises.
I would say respectable me, but he kick rocks.
I would say for the Commanders is that it's for one. I will tell you first and foremost after watching my game, and I'm going to get into my quick recap of that. And your defense is going to be far better than mine. I will get that out of the way. Your defense is going to be far better than mine if you watch my game today. Oh my God! I'm going to hold off on my rant with my team in a minute. But
those two screenplays,
yeah,
damn.
Don't.
That's all I can say.
Not yet. I'm about to get. I will get to those. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. The Commanders. They should change the name. If they had the balls, they go back to the Redskins. They probably won't. The name. If I don't know how much of a staunch fan you are of your Commanders, Rocky. How would you feel if they were called the Washington Hogs?
I feel like that's offensive to pigs. Next.
Oh God! I'll say this about the Commanders. I shared the video with you, Rocky. This fellow I subscribe to YouTube. He does a whole bunch of sporting videos, and the way he illustrates and documents what Dan Snyder has done to Sean, like try to capitalize on Sean Taylor's death multiple times. Yeah, that's not that's so weird. Yeah, you have a street name in front of a porta potty. That was odd. That's
On top of that, I don't even know what the heck that was. They had like a mannequin, dressed a mannequin up.
That statue, yeah. You had two different. You had two different. You had like a Reebok and a Nike, like different combinations with the official jersey. You can't even get that right.
Yeah, that was just poor. That was poor execution there. Yeah. And on top of that, that was last minute too. So I just, I'm glad the dude's gone, man. Dan Snyder can kick rock. He can kick rocks, man. Like, go over there, leave the United States, go over there. I think he got a house in like Europe or something. I think
Paris, yeah, his nice little yacht of his, yeah.
Man, yeah, you need to go over there and try to, terrorize some other organization. Just leave us alone.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Next topic off the top. The Browns, I call them the Deadskins. The Commanders did great, really well against the Browns. I cannot say the same thing about my Tennessee Titans versus the Bears today. Now, majority of our stars were out.
Interesting.
But majority of our stars were out. But a vast portion of our starting O-line started that first drive. That first drive with Malik Willis, first play out of the gate is a 30-yard heaver to Chris Moore, which, by the way, he runs slow. That is my pet peeve of a wide receiver. If you are not fast, I do not want you on my roster. But he's a former Texan. And Mike Vrabel will find a roster spot for that man. It's golly no. He almost fumbled the football. He almost lost the football twice on that same drive. So he needs to get his carrying under control. That first drive with Malik Willis was great. Next drive later, Will Levis almost threw a pick six. It didn't happen, but it was a bad throw by Will Levis. Overall, between the two quarterbacks, fairly even. You will see on the stat line, Malik Willis threw an interception and he lost a fumble. You watch those two plays. Josh Wiley, 6'7". Was the pass did he have to go up in his tall frame and catch it? Yes, but you had two hands on that ball. You should be coming down with that and not tipping it off your hands, and then it goes for an easy interception. Turnover number 2, strip sack fumble. That was not a basis of Malik Willis. That was a basis of our left tackle being a swinging door for the defender to say, thank you very much. Bam, strip sack, fumble, turnover. We suffered that last year with Dennis Daly, ranked the worst offensive tackle in Pro Football Focus. He was ranked the worst in Carolina. Then we traded a 5th-round pick for him, and he was ranked the worst O-lineman last year for the Titans. Why Vrabel stuck with him after Taylor 1 was done for the year is beyond me. It's fireable. It's fireable that he let that man start for as many games as he did. But he's with the Cardinals now. Go ahead, Rocky.
Mike Vrabel strikes me as that, like, he reminds me of a girl that thinks they can change a man from being a cheater. Like, he thinks he can change a man to become the best man he could be. like as far as a player when it comes to players. Like he's the epitome of that girl's like, I can change him. I can revive him from his selfish ways. Like,
they can come to Tennessee from Houston and they can do better for me. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just the way you describe him as a coach.
I'm not done with him yet. I'm not done with that yet. I'm not done yet. We suffered that last year with Dennis Daly, and all of our team was depleted with injuries. For 2 straight years, we lead the league by a long shot, and most players being injured with over 80 played players in the league year. 2 straight years we're coming off of that. Now, we still decided not to fire our strength and conditioning staff. We decided to roll with them again this year. I'm like, okay, I guess there are times of charm. But you see what happened one year, you count that as a fluke because that never happens. It happens 2 years in a row. There's something going on. You got to check the food, the air, everything. You got to check the personnel and fire their freaking rear ends. That did not happen, so I'm still disgusted. That didn't happen. Todd Dowling went out the door. Thank the Lord he's gone. So, I mean, he's a non-factor in New York as the passing game coordinator because Aaron Rodgers is there. So he's just there collecting a paycheck. He's just there collecting a paycheck in New York. Our offensive line depth is atrocious. 8 sacks given up to backups and third stringers. No, this cannot be happening for what was dubbed a revamping of the O-line. We have put in the resources for the O-line. Yes, the first drive was great with protecting Malik Willis, and it was mostly our stars. Okay, I'll give that credit. But with our injury history, our second and third stringers are going to be starters eventually this year. And this is not me just overreacting because I said last year when some of our backup players played against the Baltimore Ravens for our first preseason game, and Malik Willis was a rookie, and he was struggling to get the ball out sometimes because of pressure. I said the first game of the year preseason, and I was ridiculed for it, saying, yeah, our depth, it doesn't look good. Our offensive line, it doesn't look like it's going to be good this year. And they're like, oh, it's just the first preseason game, man. It's just a preseason. Wait for the regular season to come up. And the rest is history. We have the worst left tackle in the NFL. Our offensive line is depleted with injuries. And, yeah, the rest is history. Tannehill got 2 high ankle sprains that he suffered. And then we wanted to bring in Josh Dobbs off the street because because our coaches thought he could do better than Malik Willis. No one in their right mind could succeed behind last year's circumstances. You put Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning in their rookie years behind those same circumstances that Malik Willis went through. Horrible wide receiving core, horrible O-line, horrible play calling. What do you got? It's a recipe for disaster. And we weren't scoring over 20 points. And preseason game, yes, but the trend still continues. We have not scored a second half point for 4 straight games now. If you want to count preseason games and last year's games, we have not scored 1 point for the last few games for Titans in the second half. Our second half, I know, again, prefaces, this is just preseason. I understand this. Maybe our new offensive coordinator is not not letting the cat out of the hat yet with his play calling. A la RG3 rookie year. Didn't look that impressive in the preseason. First game versus the Saints, they uncork it, and they shocked the Saints at the Superdome with that super high-end offense against the Saints that year and shocked them. Yeah, that came out of nowhere. Maybe that – oh Lord, versus the Saints again. If that happens again, I'm not prophesying that. That would just be coincidence if that were to happen again. Our defense – the last 2 years, we've had Jim Schwartz come in as an assistant. We had Jim Schwartz coming in as an assistant. 2020, when we did not have a defensive coordinator, and it was a play caller by committee between Vrabel, Shane Bowen, and others, our defense was historically the worst third down defense in all of football. Historically, the worst. How you do that in today's NFL, I don't know how you do that. But they managed to do that. Next year, Laird, they actually say, okay, Shane Bowen, linebackers coach, you are now defensive coordinator in name only. Oh, and Jim Schwartz just got let go from the Eagles. Jim Schwartz, you come in, be a defensive consultant for us and help Shane Bowen. Like, worst case scenario, if Shane Bowen does bad, you are the break glass in case of emergency, and we can plug you in to be the defensive coordinator because we know you're going to do good. We know you're going to do good. We're going to try our guy first. And the symbiotic relationship between Schwartz and Bowen last year and 2 years ago, perfection. Utterly good. You can't ask your defense to do anything more. You can't ask your defense anything more if you are averaging only 20 points a game given up. You should be able to score more than 3 touchdowns then. That's on your offense if your defense, again, today, 23 points given up in a game. You can't ask anything more if your defense. If you're giving up 17, 20, 23, 24 points, you can't ask any more of your defense in terms of points given up. That's the best you can ask him. And if you were to go to every single general manager in the NFL and say, your defense is going to average 21 points given up a game this year, they will say, where do I sign up? Where do I sign that contract? I will happily take those conditions. Our defensive depth is filled with rookies, second-year players, and third-year players with our depth. How do you let 2 screen passes go for those many yardage? This reeked of 2020 Titans defense when it was a defensive play calling by committee. It reeked of that.
Sure, that was the first.
Oh my God! When those went down on back-to-back plays, I'm like, first play, I get it. Like DJ Moore, he's a fast dude. Second time that happens with a running back, you've got to be kidding me. That, like I said, first time, okay, it happens. It happens sometimes. It happens. Second time it happens, that's not a fluke. It's a trend, and the trend that the Titans are on. Oh my God! I predicted us to win 5 games this year. At most, we're going to win 7 games this year. And I still felt a little bit that way with DeAndre Hopkins. Even though I said in my last podcast that DeAndre Hopkins, if he can give the impact on offense and score, if we can score 28 points a game, that's 8, 9, 10 wins for you right there. I'm not confident that's not going to happen. I'm not confident that's going to happen anymore. Even with the addition of D-Hop and Traylon Burks and Chick, the emerging tight end that we got. It's, again, preface this again. This is just one preseason game. I know. I understand it. This does not count for the record, but it does not count. But I am sick and tired, and I know it's happening, and I predict it's happening. It still frustrates me as a fan for it to be happening in front of my very eyes to see we suck as a team. We suck as a team with our depth. It is. Is there any more?
I don't see. I don't see the fans with paper bags over your heads yet. So I mean, you know,
Hey, if we play the way we do today for the rest of the year, we're gonna go 0-17. I can tell you that. We'll go 0-17. I'll say that right now. I'll say it right now.
Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it Malik last year? Malik Willis' first pass was an interception, pick 6.
No, that was famously that was Jameis Winston versus the Titans. That was Winston versus Mariota. His first pass with a pick 6. His first pass was a pick 6 as a buck. His last pass as a buck was a pick 6. And then he signs with the Saints. So
I'm just sorry. I'll just leave it to the Saints. I'm sorry.
Yes, we are the common denominator.
But Saints is always somehow it's like
all roads lead through. As my pastor always says, and he's from Baton Rouge. He famously says, all roads lead through Baton Rouge, New Orleans. All roads lead back there.
And to be honest, the last time I remember Detroit being in the playoffs, they played against
the Saints.
That's why
that's my rant out of the way with my Titans. Like the verdict between Malik and Will Levis, they both played equally well. Malik, he looks night and day better than he did last year. He looks night and day better. And all those the talk all off season saying he's shown great glaring improvement. Yeah, it turned out to be the case. And we just may, you know what, based on our current offensive line and our horrible depth, I think Tannehill's going to go down with an injury again. Unfortunately, I think that's going to happen. You're going to have to keep all three quarterbacks now. You're going to have to at this rate. You're going to have to, and that's going to set up 2024 to be QB1 battle. Malik Willis versus Will Levis. Winner takes all. Right now, it's for the backup job. It's setting up to be next year, 2024. Malik versus Will. It should be happening this year. I'd rather that happen this year than kick the can down the road, because at least you can use this year as your eval year. See what you got with whatever resume you got, the talent you got, what limited cap space you got. You know you're not going to do well. This coaching staff has the, like you said, Rocky, with your analogy, our coaching staff has the mentality that we are Super Bowl contenders. I do not attest to that, because I am level-headed to know we are not Super Bowl contenders. We probably are not even playoff contenders. So I'm not going to go cheerleader mode like you did and say with your Redskin wide receivers that they're top 5. I am not going to say anything that bold or rash, man.
My hot take this season. That's my hot take this season about my team. I'll
say this. If for some reason we do not get injured like we have the last 2 years, and Traylon Burks and D-Hop can stay healthy, that's a better combo than Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, in my opinion. That's a better combo for a wide receiver for Tannehill. Easily. Because Julio missed games with injuries. About 8 games he missed with injury. But the games he was in, you were able to score over 28 points.
Wait. So Tannehill is y'all starter now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So the thing is, I do like, I don't know if the NFL caught on to it, but you guys have like one of the best run game offenses.
I'm sick and tired of it. Everyone knows what we're doing. Yes, King Henry is the king of the stiff arm. Yes, but it is not a recipe to win in today's NFL. What are your Commanders going to be doing? Not running the football. Eric Bieniemy is going to take Sam Howell and those wide receivers that you have and pass the ball, because he knows what it takes to win in this NFL. This is not 2008, 2000, 1990. This is 2023, where the average quarterback now is throwing for over 4,000 yards. Average. That's just average. We can't even get over close to 3,000 yards passing here in Tennessee. Minus 1 year, and that was 2020, which was Tannehill's best statistical year. We got bounced in the first round by the Ravens, which, again, that's just... I mean, hey, we beat them in their house, they beat us in our house. So give and take.
Yeah, Ravens.
It was bound to happen.
The Ravens are looking. I mean, being in this area, the fans are really excited about Odell Beckham. Well, I'm not, because I feel like he'll get hurt again. But this being in the atmosphere, these fans they are really supporting.
I know this man has Stetson Bennett and won 2 national titles. Now, I'm not saying the SEC is the NFL, but it ain't far off. You got pros on every team, so they can win. We'll see. I know for my beloved Saints, I was just looking at the schedule just to confirm. If I'm going to have a hot take, I said the Saints finish 12-5 and they win the division.
Woo! Spitting that hot fire.
12-5 win the division and will end up being a 2 seed, which means they'll miss out on the number 1 spot.
That's a hot take. You make my take look like it's I said top 5 wide receiver. You said you going to the playoff being number 2 seed.
I mean, think about that. It is doable. It is doable for the Saints to sweep all their games in the South.
Being out for 3, and that's with Kamara being out for 3 games. I mean, and the thing is, and again, just trying to be level-headed. And I'm saying this looking at who we starting up and who we playing against, the Saints schedule is not like we're playing world beaters. Okay, so we got Tennessee, we start with, which is a decent team. Then we got at Carolina, rookie quarterback, at Green Bay, first year starter, at
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay. God knows, no, we play home versus Tampa Bay. God knows who they have as quarterback. The first loss I got us down for is when we're at New England, just because New England has been a spot. The Saints have not traditionally done well. Then it's at Houston. Then you got Thursday night versus Jacksonville. I put a loss there because that's going to be a short week. Now, if it was a full week, I would feel better. If it's a short week, I think we lose that game, even though it's at home. It's in New Orleans. Then it's at Indianapolis, rookie quarterback.
Yeah, Richardson did not
Then
look good
home
today.
versus Chicago, rookie quarterback. You see what I'm saying? At Minnesota, which Kirk Cousins has our number, we lost at loss. Then we got the bye week. Then we do at Atlanta again, another, and we got a week before Atlanta. Oh yeah,
Is that
Man.
Kirk Cousins game on a Monday night?
The Kirk Cousins game. No, it's Sunday during the day.
Okay, never mind. I'm about to say you may got a chance. He sucks at Monday nights. So.
Right. See, that's the thing. Kirk during the day. Nah, we lost. Then we home versus. Then we got a 3 home game stretch. Home versus Detroit, which I put that down as a loss because I think Detroit would beat us. I believe so. Home versus Carolina, again, another rookie quarterback. Home versus the Giants. I think that's a win. That's Daniel Jones. What to do? Then you at the Rams, which by that point we don't know who's going to be the quarterback. At Tampa Bay, we don't know who their quarterback is. And then Atlanta, which again is another rookie quarterback. We're playing there's 7 games we play against rookie quarterbacks. 9 games we play against rookie or first year starters.
Jameis Winston's y'all starter, right?
No, it's Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Oh damn, I'm way off.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I'm looking at this.
You can easily sweep your division. You can easily sweep your division. That's 6 games, and you said 12. Now you got to find 6 somewhere. Yeah,
and that's 6, right? And so we got 6 on everything else. You got Green Bay first year starting quarterback, Indianapolis rookie quarterback. We got Houston rookie quarterback.
You never know how these rookie quarterbacks come out though. Some of them come out flying hot. You know, Bryce Young. Don't sleep on that kid from Carolina.
Stroud and Richardson are not going to be good this year. They're not going to be good. I'm not saying that as a Titan fan. I'm just saying that just based on how they look. They're not going to do good this year. That's just
all I know is
FYI.
The Saints will be feasting on a whole bunch of folks scheme-wise that don't get it. They just you see what I'm saying? So and so yeah, I'm going to say 12-5. We win the division and all that. I mean, but I'm just not going to be jumping through hoops because it's like it'll feel like a mirage because it's like because somebody could look at that 12-5 and say, well, who do you beat? And like we playing the Chiefs, the toughest team we will play the entire season. We play at 1 o'clock Eastern, noon tomorrow. The Chiefs preseason game number 1. That's the toughest game we got there.
I'll tell you this, Paul. If you I'll tell you this, Paul. If you allow Tennessee to score over 17 points in your home opener, you're losing that game. Right.
We have no business winning because I mean, if you think about it, we're not playing the Chiefs. We're not playing the Bills. We're not playing the Bengals.
You're playing the South. Yeah, you're playing the South.
We're not playing. There's so many teams we're not playing. We're not playing the Cowboys. Like, even if you look at the teams that's supposed to win the NFC, we're not playing the Cowboys. We're not playing the Eagles. The toughest team we playing is Detroit, which I think Detroit is going to win their division going away. Detroit and then Minnesota will give them a run for their money. Outside of that, who else are we playing? We played Green Bay so early in the season that let's say, for example, what Jordan Love does get it together. That's going to be on the back end of the season. We got them like week 3. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are we talking about? That's what I'm saying, man.
All right, for our final quick topic, and we're trying to sum this up best we could. What are your thoughts on 2023 for the overall season? We pretty much went over all of our teams. Paul, you think your Saints are going to go 12-5. Rocky thinks he has a top 5 receiving core. I think we're going to go 5 to 7 games winning this year. Or it's none that's going to matter because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And I'll begin this with you, Paul. What do you think? Are we just living in Patrick Mahomes' world right now?
Just shy of injury, yeah. I would like now. I know State Farm never got their Super Bowl. I get it. That was been the marketing thing they have been waiting to pull off. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and they could have made a slew of commercials or was commercial with the innuendo with that in there, like an off season. One of them got the ring and the other one. You know what I'm saying? It was way down, and Aaron just couldn't pull off his part. The only thing that would kind of it won't make up for it because now Aaron being in the Jets, that ship has sailed. So that's out of the window. Is Aaron on the field if he gets Patrick one-on-one, the Jets going to Kansas City, and he would beat him in Kansas City in the AFC Championship. That game would be big. The only game that would be bigger than that is if the woeful Cowboys, oh Jesus, somehow put it together and finally, even a blind squirrel find a nut every now and then, and just make it to the Super Bowl. Other than that, the AFC Championship game, regardless of which team, whether it's the Bengals, Bills, whether it's the Chiefs, the Chiefs, Jets, the fact that the Chiefs went to 5 AFC Championship rounds in the game, I don't see no reason why it can't be 6. I mean, yes, they lost Eric Bieniemy, but Eric Bieniemy wasn't. I mean, just like as you saw with Tyreek Hill, they was able to still adjust. I think with this group, they done got the core to the point to where, all right, we can lose one piece here, a piece there, and we can keep the train going because we still got Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's going to be Patrick, and then depending on who else come out the other side, Lamar, but any of them other than Joe, I think because Joe done been there, done that. Now some people can say, well, it could be a rubber match because, okay, fine, there's a storyline built in with Joe, the storyline built in with the Bills, the storyline built in with the Ravens, if he was to get that far.
Yes, you said.
And the Jets. That's pretty much. But that's a whole lot of. But chances are the Chiefs gonna have to probably beat one of them teams on the way there. Ain't like all 4 of them are gonna be on the other side of the ledger.
The AFC has all the best quarterbacks.
Right.
NFC. Everybody loves the NFC right now because
there's no quarterbacks essentially.
There's no quarterbacks.
AFC is so loaded that this should be the 1 year in the Pro Bowl. It should not be no. I don't care if Derek Carr leads the Saints to a division title, be 12-5, and they end up having. He ends up throwing for 4,000 yards. No, he should not be going to the Pro Bowl. He ain't. None of no twos over there. This should be the first year that there should be no NFC quarterbacks go to. I don't care. It's like after Dallas can go undefeated, Dak Prescott still shouldn't go to the Pro Bowl. That's how strongly I believe. But I'm saying, like, if Dallas cannot. I mean, the Super Bowl thing with the Eagles, I think they're going to take a step back and just hit it. Now, I still think they can win the division. That's just me.
Eagles?
I think Washington, yes, I think Washington would still be a tough out. Dallas always seems just like Stephen A. said, just wait. Dallas always seems to find a way to blow it when it counts most.
There's a black cat walking around there.
And they always seem to win. And especially if Dallas has to go to Philly and play in Philly, they find a way to blow it. They will blow it some kind of way. But I'm just saying, just say for the sake of argument, everything breaks fine. Let's say Jalen Hurts gets hurt and he lives up to the namesake. He's hurt and he can't play. He's out. And then the Saints, we're the Saints. We've been paper champions. We ain't played nobody. At least Dallas would have had at least 2 people in their division. You guys, Washington and the Eagles. I'm not counting the Giants. I don't think it's just going. I'm just not a believer. I think once them folks got their money, then they just gonna sit down somewhere.
Oh no, not O'Shea Jack. O'Shea, not O'Shea.
I want O'Shea to do well. Let him get a Pro Bowl, and then just let him know that now everybody go back to putting blame where it should be. Is you pay $45 million a year for a quarterback, then they can't. If you cannot win in the, like you say, as bad as the NFC is, you can't. You don't even need to be. So I think Detroit will be formidable. I think now them fans will be just happy to have a playoff win.
Shoot, why should we have to have a playoff win? What are you talking about?
The Detroit, you have not been as long suffering as Detroit, dear friend.
Yeah.
That's the only fan base. Them in Cleveland, them the only two fan bases you have not been as long suffering as. So it's just every dog has his day, every dog has a time in the sun. God forbid if Detroit end up being Dallas, that will be my dream scenario. And for Detroit. The only way you fire Mike McCarthy is they go to the playoffs and they lose to Detroit. I don't care what. You lose to Detroit. The only team that had worse luck than you, Detroit. So
no, worst case scenario, they're losing to the Deadskins in the playoffs. That's the worst case scenario. And Sam Howell, that's the worst case scenario for the Cowboys.
Well, you
lose to that quarterback.
So
so that means it would be Patrick Mahomes versus whoever comes out in the NFC, which to me, I think Patrick Mahomes, that's a 33% chance of winning the Super Bowl. And on the strength of that one dude. I mean, because he's that dude. So he's that dude. So I'm like, he's that dude. Short of injury, he's that dude. So I expect him to at least see them in the Super Bowl. And and we hadn't seen nothing like that really since Brady, even with Brady, because you had Peyton Manning on the other side. That wasn't always the case. You could say that with Brady, but at least he gonna be that dude. So I'm like, he gonna be that dude, and who could ever come out the other side? Like I said, the only way the AFC Championship game get a bigger, because that's what CBS, AFC Championship is busy. I don't know who has the rights to the Super Bowl this year. Do you know, Josh?
I can look that up right now. I want to say it's NBC. I'll double check.
I want to know who has the rights to the Super Bowl because
Paul, don't start San Francisco now.
Okay, Purdy, they'll have another year of tape on them.
CBS has it this year. CBS. It's in Las Vegas. CBS has it.
CBS is going bang because they know that if I'm CBS, whoever's in the AFC Championship game is going to be GOAT. The only way it's going to get topped by the Super Bowl is if that winner playing the Cowboys. Let's be honest. The Eagles, because the Eagles went there last year, it won't move the needle like it did, unless it's another rematch with the Chiefs, which then you can kind of build a storyline. Okay, what to do? If the Cowboys win, that would make them the most money because the Cowboys ain't been in so long. Oh my God, Stephen A. and all them got to go to Vegas. Oh my God, oh Lord, oh Jesus. So, but then if the Saints was to go, if Detroit was to go, now Detroit would put some fans in just because Detroit. It would be like when the Saints went in Super Bowl 41 because it had not happened ever. You had people dump whole life savings to go to the Super Bowl. Detroit would. If I would say if I'm CBS, I would want the Cowboys first, Detroit second. I don't even really know who I want third. If the Saints was to go, people would go, yes, because the Saints had been. This don't happen every day.
I'll tell you this right now, Paul. I'll tell you this right now. If some reason the Lions are in the Super Bowl, if you've been up to Michigan, I don't know if you've been up to Michigan or not. Those folks up there own two houses, a regular house they live and a lake house. So their coffers are going to be pretty fine in their savings account if they have to dump money to go to Nevada for the Super Bowl.
I bet you some people would even sell the lake house just to go. Just to go.
Hey, exactly. So
just like the Saints was. We were selling beachfront. We were swamp property. We were selling swampland. Just to go. We want to buy you skiffs. We were selling everything, man.
And it's funny because that one day wasn't that the team that was just talking about moving to a different location?
They had talked about with
to San Antonio.
I would say probably about 2 years, maybe 3 years after Katrina. Even in 2007, there was still talk about moving the Saints to
San Antonio.
Because even though the Superdome was kind of back where it needed to be, the rest of the city was still so bad off. Even 5 years later, the year they won the Super Bowl, the city still hadn't fully recovered yet. So, for everything that it had been through, so I mean, but I would say after '07, the Saints was kind of safe. Okay, they're staying in New Orleans. That's when Benson just put all the rumors to rest. Like, look, we're not going to even look at relocation or nothing. But if the Saints would have moved, I wouldn't have been mad. I would have continued my fandom because I understand because so many of my family members left New Orleans. So many of them left Louisiana
A whole
because
bunch
of
of them came
Katrina.
to our church in Memphis.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, at one point we had like 11 people like that was going to be in my 2 bedroom apartment. If FEMA hadn't stepped in, it was just one of those things, man. So I mean, had it moved to San Antonio, or which I thought would have been the better move at that point, move to LA, be the LA Saints. City of Angels Saints. That kind of makes sense. The LA Saints would have worked. I mean, at that point in time, that was a legit possibility. But the San Antonio was only really a play because that's where Benson was from. Benson was from San Antonio. So I mean, black and gold, the Spurs is black and silver, everything over there black. Okay, fine, And I've been to San Antonio. San Antonio is kind of a low key town. They kind of keep to themselves. They're not as bougie as Dallas or as bougie as Houston or as country as Dallas. They kind of like to keep to themselves. They like to do. They pretty much like Tim Duncan and all that. They pretty much take after the city, which is we come in, we want to work hard, and we go home. Now they need to do something with the potholes on the roads, but other than on the interstate. But other than that, they just come in, do what they. They're not very flashy at all. Come in, do their job, go home. That's Indianapolis is that way. San Antonio's that way.
Sorry,
So
you
yeah,
just described Tim Duncan.
right. So I mean, it fit. That's why for somebody like Wimbayana coming in, I'm like, that's going to be a little different because he ain't quite them, you know. But I mean, like Robinson, huh?
Oh, that might be true. Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw someone on my Facebook said, Jay, this is some completely odd topic, but Jay Uso might be going to AEW.
Oh wow.
Who?
Oh, it's a wrestler, WWE. And I'm sorry, it just popped
Oh
up.
yeah, that's why. The fake sport. Yeah.
Oh well, hey, it's sports entertainment. It is
My
the middle-
my sister and her boyfriend, soon to be, hopefully, soon to be my new brother-in-law. They love the WWE. It's not for me. It's just not for me. It's just fake as it
And
can
you
get.
live in Memphis, one of the most hallowed grounds in all of wrestling.
So I don't know who that is, Rocky. I don't know who that is. Yeah.
That's who fought Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah,
pay-per-view.
Rocky. You hear who WWE got bought out by?
What is it? 2K? Not 2K. Disney.
Yeah, Endeavor.
They got bought out by UFC.
Oh yeah. I heard about that. They can now.
I saw that headline. I'm like, oh, okay. You're gonna make this sport real. Okay, we're gonna have real wrestling. Okay, maybe make this
And then
interesting.
think about the cross promotion and all that. It makes sense. I'm sitting there. I'm like Vince again, man. Vince again.
My
Man,
bad. Going back to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
and think about how much stuff that I did Dana and the Fertitta brothers and stole from that. Basically, that would have been something wrestling would have did. Like how you have like say after somebody wins a fight, and then you have like whoever's the next challenger run into the ring, and now mouthing off. That's something you only see in wrestling. Then UFC would do it, and then next you see boxing trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? And you can't buy boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't buy that. Everybody got all them federations. You can't buy boxing. So
Not the sport for me. That's just not for me. So, Patrick. It's. I'll tell you what. After signing DeAndre Hopkins, again, my dad will just ride and die. He'll continue to ride and die with the Titans, but he's level-headed like me. But he did bring up a good argument that with an inept offense and Malik Willis and whatnot, we tied the Chiefs in regulation. Just putting that out there. Like, our inept team somehow can keep Patrick Mahomes like anchored to the ground.
Everybody has a team where schematically they have your number, and you know that they're not better than you. And it's just everybody has. For us, Minnesota.
For Washington, it's the Giants. I don't understand how. I don't understand how Giants.
And who is it for the Titans then? You know the Titans are
for the longest time since 1993. It was the Chargers. Since '93, we could never beat the Chargers. Who is it now?
For us, it's Minnesota. Minnesota got our number. It don't matter. God.
For the longest time since the new Lucas Oil Stadium opened up, until Vrabel's first year with us, we could not win at Indianapolis at all. We couldn't win there at all. Andrew Luck was that quarterback. I mean, we're talking teams, but Andrew Luck was that quarterback. He was 10-0 versus the Titans. 10-0 versus the Titans. And I swear to you, that man has a voodoo doll with a Titans logo in his closet somewhere before he plays us every single. I'm glad he retired. I'm glad that man retired, or else we would have not made the playoffs considerably in some of our years recently.
There was a 13-year stretch that the Saints did not win in San Francisco. They had Joe Montana, then they went to Steve Young, and then they went from who they go from Steve Young, Jeff Garcia or something like that. All I know, it was a 13-year stretch between when the Saints win and then the next time they won again in San Francisco. We could not beat San Francisco in San Francisco to save our lives. In New Orleans, we have a fighting chance. In San Francisco, Candlestick, we were done. We was the one burning.
It's weird.
I mean, to answer your question, Tennessee really doesn't have a particular team. Now, if you want to go back to the AFC Central days, Baltimore versus Tennessee, Baltimore will always beat us in Tennessee, and we will always beat them in Baltimore. And it still holds true today. How that's even possible, I don't know. I don't think we've ever beaten them in Nashville, and I don't think they've ever beaten us in Baltimore. So you got that rivalry of old.
It's I guess.
Yeah, there's not really a team for Tennessee actually. Like we're that 8-8, 7-9, 9-7 team. Like we'll find ways to beat somebody.
Not a team that always had y'all number. You obviously got the Chiefs number. Well, we've seen that, but
I wish it resulted in wins.
Right.
I guess for Washington, it's like it's family business when it comes to Washington. Like it's weird. When Washington beat the Giants, they can't beat anybody else in the NFC East. But when the Giants beat us, we could beat everybody else in the NFC East, but we can't beat them. So it's like it's so weird.
No. Washington, the one team you cannot beat, it befuddles me. You can't beat Seattle. No matter how many times you play against them or when it is, what year it is, you can't beat them.
Well, when it comes to playoffs, yeah.
That's your team. That's your team. They have your number.
Washington, I think last time Washington played in Seattle, Washington won. They beat Seattle and Washington. I mean, no. Yeah, Washington beat Seattle in Seattle the last time they played each other. I'm trying to think when. I remember both playoffs.
Looking up like it's written in the sky.
I remember both playoffs because we know Washington did play Seattle in the playoffs twice, I believe, and we lost.
I don't know.
But I guess in the playoffs, they do have our number in the playoffs. And that's what RG3 year. That's the last time I remember.
But then again, I don't know when Seattle used to be in the AFC. Seattle didn't move over until 2002 because of Houston coming in. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't always okay. This ain't like something we can go back to the Joe Theismann days, Mark Repton. No, because the Steve Largent and them dudes, they were playing in the AFC. They were playing against the Raiders and all that. So
this is my prediction for Super Bowl. I think it's going to be Detroit, and
Bro, no. Be real.
I think
Detroit and
Detroit.
who?
I think
Be real.
Detroit. No,
Detroit and
serious.
who?
Detroit and Kansas City.
Bro, no. Gee. It's late.
I
I see it's
think they're
midnight.
gonna win.
I'm in Central Time. I see it's past midnight. So I'm going to chalk that one down to you just like staying past midnight. Oh my God. Be real, man. Be real.
I don't know.
Hey, if
I'm
it
just
comes,
telling you.
if it comes out that Josh, you're gonna have to eat crow.
Hey, I don't have a problem eating crow if I'm wrong. I would love nothing. My wife would love nothing more than for her Michigan team to be in the Super Bowl. She would love nothing
I don't
more.
know.
I truly believe the three teams from the NFC that have the best chance of going to the Super Bowl in that order would be Dallas, Detroit, the Saints. I truly believe in the NFC. So Detroit, him saying Detroit going to the Super Bowl is not out of the realm of possibilities.
I really
This is,
think
with that coach, Dan Campbell, oh yeah, this is the year they can put it together.
For the NFC, the top three teams, it's got to be Eagles until they're dethroned from their NFC perch. The 49ers because they find a way to plug and go with whatever quarterback they got. Also in the NFC, look at the North, Minnesota. They're great in the regular season. Maybe with all these quarterbacks going elsewhere in the AFC, maybe that's the door that finally opens up for Minnesota to do some noise making. I don't know, but I mean, that's the top three teams right there in the
Correct
NFC.
me if I'm wrong. In the East, no team has repeated as division champion since when?
Since 2004.
Right.
Oh, that can't be right.
That's why I'm saying with the East, I'm like the Eagles now. It's just like you like to say after it's repeating is just same concept.
Was it 2000? I think it's 2000. It was. I know it was early 2000s. They have been repeated, and the Eagles were the last ones to do it. I think
They went back to back.
they went back to back.
They went back to back 4 times from 2001 to 4. That was the Eagles.
Yeah, 2004. That's what I'm saying.
And then after 2004, nobody has won it back to back.
Nobody ever won it back to back. Yeah. So.
Nope, not what I'm seeing here.
So that's why I'm saying that's why.
And I think
that was back when
Washington.
you had Andy Reid and you had
Donovan McNabb.
McNabb. And so look how Andy Reid has been. Dude, it's not rocket science. This
I
isn't
think
rocket.
Washington.
It's
It's
football.
about Washington's turn to win it now.
I'm just saying.
You know, we playing ring around the rosy in the NFC East.
Oh no! By your logic, it's the Giants' turn. They haven't won since 2011.
Well, we won. The last time we won was 2019?
2020.
2020? Oh, yeah. So it's the Giants' turn. The Giants going to somehow have a miraculous season. And you know what's funny? The thing that irked me about the Giants, they always seem to win the Super Bowl when their coach about to get fired.
He's right. He's right.
Like-
Both times Coughlin was on the hot seat and they make the run. Matter of fact, they said that, he's going to get fired after the last playoff. They make the run. Because both times there was wild cards and they blazed through.
That is weird.
Kind of bad. No, this will be a crazy Super Bowl. And I'm just going to go off on the limb. I would say if my Saints don't make it, I'm going to say, even if the Saints was to play the Chiefs, there ain't no way in the world the Saints will beat the Chiefs. I mean, the way the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes beat up on Dennis Allen over the years and Derek Carr, no, we losing. We get blown out by 3 touchdowns or more. But I would say, even with the offense we got, I would say I'm going to go with Detroit and the Jets. I'll just go off on the deep end. That would be crazy. You talking about 2 fan bases that ain't won since the dawn of time?
I mean, think about Aaron Rodgers. You know, they got a good bunch. They got a good-ass defense. And add Aaron
Robert
Rodgers.
Saleh might get coach of the year. Will Robert Saleh even get coach of the year? The Jets face this one? No.
I mean, thing is, they got the Peyton Manning effect. Like, as soon as Peyton Manning went to Denver, they automatically won the Super Bowl right after the same year.
So we'll see. I mean, but see, the thing is, he didn't have an AFC like what he got now. This is an AFC, dude. The Jets just win the division. They just do good. Let's go. They got.
I don't really. The Patriots not the same Patriots anymore. So I mean,
you got the Bills and the Dolphins.
The Bills, the Dolphins. Yeah, it's like that
division's gonna beat each other up. Yeah, that division's gonna be splitting games left and right.
Yeah, and it feels good to see Patriot fans finally feel like normal people now. Like, you get tired of seeing them always winning, the team winning all the damn time because of Tom Brady.
Lifetime. Anybody that's older than 35, remember the Steve Grogan, Tony Eason, Stanley Morgan Patriots, but they were so god awful. We remember them Patriot teams.
Wow.
Anybody older, younger than 35 don't know it. They don't understand it, man. And they don't understand. The older fans realize, they say, look, we're just going to ride this train. It hadn't always been like this.
Well, hopefully this new owner we got, they can change the culture around.
Just like how Kraft did with the Patriots. Kraft came in as ownership, and there you go. Ball over.
Yeah.
That was Tom Brady. That was Tom Brady. That was not ownership. That was all.
But what I'm saying is, somebody still had to scratch the check. And convince Tom Brady to take less so he can go get other weapons. Which, outside of
he took less because he was married to a supermodel. Come on, that's.
Look, I ain't counting.
He could take less because he could.
Right, I'm not gonna count on no man's money. And now she's dating his friend, who is worth $2.2 billion.
Damn. Bye, Tom.
4 times much as what Tom Brady is worth. Tom is like $512 million. This dude is $2.2 billion.
What does he do?
Oh God, I have to look it up. I actually was reading it today. I was like, oh,
damn, Tom, you can't win them all, Tom.
Can't win them all, Tom.
Yeah. For a Super Bowl pick I have for this year, I'll give you my final 4, and I'm not going to go stupidly crazy like USAA did, picking the Lions and the Jets in the Super Bowl matchup. I'm not going to go that crazy like they did, which was.
Oh, they had the Lions in there too.
USAA been posting stupid stuff lately. Like, they don't even know football. They're just posting it. They had the Chiefs winning 9 games, and then they had to go back and make a revision and give them 10 games. Come on, like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And they had the Patriots winning 10 games in their prediction as well. So,
Patriots.
I mean, to their credit, they said that every single team in the AFC East made the playoffs in their prediction. Every single one of them. So, Super Bowl, I would say, it's not going to be the Bills. The Bills are the new, Josh Allen and the Bills is the new version of Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. They are that third team that's a good similarity. That folks say that it's their time to win Super Bowl, and when the lights are turned on in the playoffs, they choke in the playoffs. They find a way to blow it, or they choke. 2 years ago, they blew it versus the Chiefs. Last year, they choked versus the Bengals at home. They find a way to blow it. They're this generation's Phillip Rivers and Chargers, San Diego Chargers.
That's not bad comparison.
Both of them wore number 17. Quarterback.
Coincidence, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm not picking the Bills. It's definitely not going to be the Jaguars. No, they're not that good of a team.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I want to root for the Chargers, but the way they lost their Jacksonville game, that was vintage Charger-esque you can never think of blowing a game like that. I mean, in the AFC, I actually do like Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes. I think that championship is going to happen. May the best man win. That's going to be happening in the AFC, in my opinion. And on the NFC side, if Brock Purdy could stay healthy, 49ers are going to be making some noise this year. Philadelphia, with that receiving core they got, and they got another Bulldog starter for their defense that they stole in the draft. I mean, That's you might as well call their defense the Georgia Bulldog Eagles. That's what they are right now. They got a whole bunch of Bulldogs.
This is Georgia Bull Eagles.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of Bulldogs on that defense.
Washington had the Alabama wall. I mean,
the two divisions that are going to be tanking, like not tanking, but that's going to suck the most this year is the two South divisions, NFC and AFC. They're going to suck the most this year. I mean, that's just the way it is with the quality of teams that they have. I mean, until proven otherwise, with what Paul thinks is going to be a 12-win Saints team. 7 wins is going to win that division. 9 wins is going to win the AFC South. And I think Jacksonville is going to get those 9 wins before Tennessee does. For the NFC, 2 teams, I see it's not going to be the Cowboys. It's not going to be the Eagles. It's not going to be the Commanders. I think you're looking at a matchup between, in all honesty, I think Detroit gets in via wild card. Minnesota wins that division. And you're looking at a Minnesota versus Philadelphia championship game again. Those are 4 teams. It's the Jets, Chiefs, and then you have the Vikings versus Eagles on the other side. That's my top 4. May the best man win. I can see either one of those 4 teams facing off against each other in the Super Bowl.
Kirk Cousins on the contract year, too. Kirk Cousins wants to get to a Super Bowl on the contract year.
Hey, Joe Flacco did it, so it ain't another question.
That sounds like a Kirk Cousins situation, too. That sounds exactly like a Kirk Cousins situation. I know as a Washington fan, man,
Minnesota is the one team I do not want to play in the playoffs. I believe Detroit is going to win the division. I believe I can see Minnesota getting the wild card. If Minnesota come back to New Orleans, Kirk Cousins already done beat New Orleans. And then beat him again over time. Oh, no. No, he's actually beaten the Saints 3 times in the playoffs?
No, once.
No.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. Case Keenum was the quarterback for that miracle throw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Case Keenum was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's still Minnesota. PTSD, all blurs.
Run the ball!
Then I remember the first game of the season, they turned around and they put us against Minnesota, first game of the season, and Kirk Cousins led them down the field. Because I remember the game went on. Oh, my God. And then it was he throws a fade pass and the corner pass to Kyle Rudolph. And then I'm like, God, dog, here we go.
All right, so thank you for watching. Again, this is Rakeem Morris. This is Paul Briggs. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, saying to you, keep kicking it to the king.